If if you allow me to take the floor, I shall proceed. Um,
Thank
I've
you.
got the midnight sort of session now, but the reason why I'd like to introduce this paper, it's a new subject that is now highlighting the problem we have in the UK. And the problem we have in the UK is that the policing system is 200 years old. Now, over a period of 200 years old, yes, the police have evolved, but at the same time, they are in a position now, they're at a crossroads where they have lost public confidence. So, my paper today is really an introduction into the subject of exploring two-tier policing in the UK, a boon or a challenge. And is the emergence of a two-tier police service inevitable? Well, I start off by saying that on the September the 23rd this year, a chap by the name of Ian Wiggett for Policing Insight discussed the increasing relevance of two-tier policing as a key issue in the UK. The concept being, and it also suggests that policing services may be divided based on geographic or socio-economic factors, leading to disparities in law enforcement efforts and public trust. While some senior officials reject the idea, it has gained traction, particularly as social unrest and inequalities in police responses are becoming more pronounced. Ian examines these concerns, indicating that while the debate continues, the perception, of course, of two-tier policing is growing, and addressing these disparities may be essential to restoring public confidence in policing systems. Um, I'd just like to just say that I'm in the middle of a storm here, and I might lose power. So if I go offline, it's because the storm and 90-mile-an-hour winds have taken effect and got the better of it. So don't worry if I suddenly go offline, please. But I'll try and do my best. So, policing in the United Kingdom has long been hailed as a model for public service, underpinned by principles of transparency, accountability, and public trust. However, in recent years, the concept of two-tier policing has emerged as both a practical reality and a topic of intense debate. This term broadly refers to the policing services provided across the country, of course, influenced by variations in funding, operational priorities, and resource allocation between local police forces and national or specialist agencies, such as the National Crime Agency, which is the umbrella uh, agencies when it comes to crime in the UK. But sitting underneath that, we have regional organised crime units, and they deal with local crime, and that feeds into the national model. While some view this structure as pragmatic response to increasingly complex demands on law enforcement, others raise concerns about equality, consistency, and of course public trust in the police system, which I have highlighted. The two-tier policing model, what really is it? It arises from the dual pressures faced by UK law enforcement. On one hand, local police forces must manage day-to-day responsibilities such as crime prevention, community engagement, and tackling antisocial behaviour. On the other, national and regional agencies are tasked with addressing organised crime, cybercrime, and other sophisticated threats that transcend geographical boundaries. Because when you think about crime, it does not respect boundaries. It's a global issue. So it transcends from one end, one side of the globe to the other. And of course, now with technology, someone sitting on the beach in Acapulco could effectively steal my money in the UK. So this is how simple it has become. This separation of roles and resources has created an apparent divide between the localized public facing policing model and the specialist intelligence led approaches aimed at tackling complex criminal networks. I often say, and I often quote, um, there is there was a home secretary, Jack Straw, and I often say this because he was one of the most um, insightful people that it was my pleasure to meet. And he said, fraud and corruption and economic crime is like a deadly virus. Left unchecked, creates huge inequalities and undermines the very foundations of democratic government. Well, if you take that as a package, it really has a ripple effect right across the earth, the globe. So we're saying now that um, critics say that the two-year tier policing creates a fragmented and equitable system where some communities may perceive their policing service as inferior or under-resourced. But let's take that in in context. What it does, or what it will do, is it will affect, give more time for the construction of local policing. So therefore you get quality as opposed to quantity or a quick response. At the same time, if you employ um, uh, let's say private detectives, because this is where it's going, the private detectives have a different level of operating. They are the preferred investigators when it comes to corporations. And the reason why I say that is A, because they're cheaper, B, because they're more skilled, because they've had more time to upskill, and of course, thirdly, it means that should there be an occasion whereby the crime needs to go into a courtroom, that doesn't exist. It can be actually dealt with uh, as a public issue between individual and the corporation. So the company doesn't spend time fighting a battle through the judicial system. The question, of course, must be asked, is the UK policing system at a stage where the general public are so concerned that it is on the verge of collapse? And should the UK government now accept that the time is right for radical reform of its police service? Well, I say yes, because this is what my research is all about. The United Kingdom law enforcement model, long rooted in community-based policing, is faced increasing pressure due to the rise of sophisticated criminal networks. Traditional policing, which has historically been effective in tackling both local and organised crime, is now challenged by the complexities of transnational crime, cybercrime, human trafficking, and other forms of criminal activity that stretch beyond local jurisdictions. We can throw in terrorist financing, embezzlement that transcends the international borders. So this paper hopefully argues that the UK must seriously consider adopting a two-tier policing model, which would separate local law enforcement from a specialist force dedicated to handling organised crime. And of course, such a model already in place in countries like Italy, United States, and the Netherlands could enhance the UK's capacity to tackle organised crime more effectively. So if we take the United States, where did it all start? Regretfully, um, it it was not in place before 9/11. When 9/11 happened, it really was an awakening that interagency cooperation should exist in I would say every country, because it brings together all resources. It brings together the ability to be proactive rather than reactive. Uh, in the United States, they're saying, well, look, it's we have to put it in place, and they have done. And the evidence suggests that it's a working model that can be transported to any country, across the world, because they see it as as Homeland Security. Now, there's no different to the UK that we can't say that. So we're saying that let's look at the historical context of policing. See, policing in the UK, police by consent. And that really is saying that the public community is on our side. Well, unfortunately, that faith has been lost. So the police, when we're talking about UK operating under a unified structure with local police forces responsible for addressing both community level crimes and more complex organised crime, the cornerstone of British policing has been its close relationship with the public, based on the principles of trust, transparency, and of course, collaboration. And that's where I said that the understanding of policing and policing by consent was the foundation. We're moving on now to say, criminals are now more capable of evading traditional law enforcement methods due to their transnational reach and the use of sophisticated technologies, including encrypted communications and blockchain for money laundering. In response to these evolving challenges, the UK established, of course, the National Crime Agency. So in 2013, to address the serious and organised crime, we've now gone beyond that. We need to be looking at another level of development. The existing single-tier policing model has led to overlap of inefficiencies between local police forces and the national body, undermining the UK's ability to effectively combat organised crime. This historical context raises the question of whether the UK's current police framework can continue to function effectively in the face of such challenges. So where's the argument? Well, the argument is that in modern law enforcement, a two-tier policing model offers an efficient way to divide responsibilities between different types of police units. This system distinctly separates routine community policing from specialist law enforcement activities that require advanced skills, resources, and strategic direction. At the foundation level, local police forces would be primarily dedicated to handling issues directly affecting communities, such as minor offences, traffic violations, and maintaining public order. These officers play a crucial role in fostering or bringing back the fostering of relationships with local residents, building trust, and enhancing public safety. Of course, their familiarity with the neighbourhood allows them to respond more effectively to concerns relating to the community. And that with regard to the levels of crime like petty theft, vandalism, and of course, domestic disturbances. These types of crimes require, when we're looking at human trafficking, organised crime, these types of crimes require specialist expertise, extensive resources, and high-level interagency cooperation, all of which might be beyond the capacity of a local police department. By separating these two functions, the two-tier policing model that I suggest ensures that community-focused officers can remain dedicated to local safety and crime prevention, so there'll be clear water between the two. But of course, if there is a...
Sir, you have 2 to 3 minutes left.
Thank you very much indeed. If, of course, there is a major national urgency, they could, in fact, be brought out to participate as part of the response to that emergency. So I'm saying that the structured approach not only enhances operational efficiency, but also reduces the strain on local police forces, allowing them to focus on core issues. So in addition, this model promotes a more responsive and flexible law enforcement system where resources can be appropriately allocated depending on the type of scale of the crime, by drawing a clear line between everyday policing and specialist intervention. The two-tier system ensures a tailored response to crime while fostering a greater accountability at both levels of enforcement. Thank you very much indeed.